All right, we are back on the Andre Duke Show. How is everybody doing? Also, Richie is out tonight, um, handling some stuff. So, phone lines are open. Number to call 260-255-4069. Appreciate all the new people that have came along and came aboard the podcast, and appreciate everybody for that. Just some housekeeping notes. Phone lines are open. Number to call 260-255-4069 is the number to call. So if that is what you're up to, talking a lot of college football, uh, and some sorts, just getting some things around. There's that. Let me get that posted. All right. So that's pretty much where we're at. We can lead this off, go down um, the big news. James Franklin, going to be in three major conferences as a head coach. Vanderbilt, Penn State, and Virginia Tech now. So that's kind of where James is at. He's pretty much, I think he's set up for success at he's set up for success, I think, at Virginia Tech. I think it reinvigorates people. I also think that not a lot of people were anticipating how the press conference was going to go. And I don't fault James on that at all, to say the least. Go Sibo, Stony Brook. Hey, shout out to you guys. Also live on TikTok as well. But that is kind of where we're at. If you can do us the biggest favor, hit the like and subscribe button. Also, I'm trying to fix this background because it's not a good one. Wonder if this will work better. But yeah, so that's where we're at. Also got some action on tonight. So there's that. Kent State taking on, I believe, Central Michigan. Phone lines are open. Number to call 260-255-4069 is the number to call. Appreciate everybody for joining in. I just talking the James Franklin stuff. I gotta go back to the drawing board. I think. What about? Is that better? So, but yeah, sorry, I'm a little distracted here, trying to get this whole thing figured out. If I can get it to work. So there's that. Sorry about that, everybody. But yeah, James Franklin. I'll be interested to see what comes out of it. I find it very interesting that at the press conference, sorry, I got sidetracked, But at the press conference, he brought up the former coach and Brent Prey, the former Virginia Tech head coach. I thought that was a very interesting story he told. His dad, Coach Prey's dad, was James Franklin's offensive coordinator when he was in college. I'm not shocked. That's one of the issues that you have whenever football and the whole coaching profession being that tight knit. Just one of the things that that happens, and you don't know who's connected to who and all of that fine stuff. But I'm not saying it's a downgrade on Coach Franklin, but they had to kind of expect that. I don't know if they were expecting that it was going to be as big as it was, but clearly it meant something to James Franklin. And basically here, this gives him a new start, to say the least. I think it gives him a big new start. But hold on one. But yeah, it gives him a new start, fresh start. He can start with a clean slate, to say the least. That's kind of the way I look at it. With James Franklin, I think Virginia Tech, with the way the transfer portal set up, he is walking in at an opportune time. They got one game left, I do believe. So there is that. I don't know what the consensus is going to be about how much money he's going to have, I guess, in the portal. I guess Virginia Tech is going to commit a lot of resources to James Franklin to help him acquire players. I think that that's very interesting, to say the least. I don't think it's going to be on him per se, but as long as they commit the resources to it, I think they'll be able to acquire talent, keep guys that are in their state there, which is a big thing. So there's that. But also, just to let everybody know, phone lines are open. If you're new here, do us the biggest favor, hit that like and subscribe button, and help us grow this thing. But yes, the number to call is on the ticker below. Number to call, 260-255-4069 is the number to call if you want to call in. But so there's a little bit of that, what Franklin can do as far as acquiring talent, the NIL stuff. And then we'll get to the big kind of what it was. I'm just looking for something here. Earlier in the day, this popped up. John Summerall, I guess. See, this is the problem I have with the whole coaching search thing. At a certain point, it boils down to what people are going to do. I guess Summerall allegedly had a meeting set up with the Tulane, or not Tulane, but he had a meeting set up with the Florida people and it was canceled today. I don't know how true that is, but Pete Nakos and some of the other people were reporting that he was he had that set up, and he had some other, I don't think any other meetings set up, but I guess it leaked to the media that Summerall was meeting with him. 3 hours later, it comes out that Summerall is canceled the meeting per Pete Nakos. They broke it about 5 hours ago, and it basically said Florida is set to meet with Tulane head coach John Summerall. And then it got Pete Nakos breaks it that the meeting was canceled. So there's that. For the life of me, I don't get it. Very bizarre on how that whole thing shaped up. And that's just kind of where it's at. So I don't know where Summerall is going to end up, but I would say he's going to have a chance to go somewhere, whether it's Arkansas. I don't know. I guess you can just pick the job opening, just not Virginia Tech. Some speculation. I don't know how long the North Carolina thing is going to hang out with Bill Belichick. I know that is something that I have a eye on as well. Don't really know how long Bill's going to be there. It seems like he's enjoying himself, but it's North Carolina could come open. It's just with anything that's going on in the coaching, I guess, world. I don't know what you can believe. I don't know what you can't believe. I mean, the Lane Kiffin stuff down there at Florida is also getting bizarre. Or at Ole Miss, it's like he won't give an answer. But I get Lane's point, but I think at the end of the day, he's got so much leverage on them. I'm assuming you're talking about UNT, the University of North Texas. I think that'll be interesting if they can make a run at it, but I don't know. The group of five as it sits right now is Tulane, but I think they're going to give the bid to whoever makes it out of the American. That's kind of my feeling on it. Because like a week ago it was Memphis. Let me see if I can find the American standings real quick. So in the American, it's basically a three-way tie. It's Navy, Tulane. Navy is 6-1, Tulane is 5-1, and North Texas is 5-1, and also East Carolina is 5-1. For some semblance, I think it's going to come down to whoever wins that conference championship game. North Texas needs to get in. Let me look and see who Navy has left. Navy's losses to North Texas, Notre Dame. They have Memphis and Army coming up. So if you're a North Texas fan, you are absolutely preying on either Army or Memphis to beat them. That's basically kind of where you're at on that. So as I pull up this CFP. Why did that happen? So we'll refresh there. So there's that. So basically, for the most part, everybody moved up and some people jumped around. Also, number to call 260-255-4069 is the number to call. If you want to call, get your call in. Ole Miss sitting at 6. Oklahoma back in the thick of it. So there's that. One of the other things I want to go to, the University of Michigan, they are not feeling this private equity deal. As the text on the bottom of this is via Yahoo Sports. University of Michigan would consider going independent when the current media rights deal expires. I think that's interesting. I think Michigan could get a lucrative TV deal. A lot of people in the Big Ten don't think so, but they beat Ohio State this year. Michigan's in the college football playoff. I hate to break it to you because I think a win over Ohio State catapults them. It's going to catapult them big time, and I don't think people want to necessarily hear that. So that's kind of where I'm at on it. I think the University of Michigan, the Big Ten better get that figured out because you do not want to lose a major member institution on their end of it, because all that does is weaken your conference if Michigan were to leave. Phone lines open. Number to call, 260-255-4069. We're probably going to go about a half hour here. Also, if you can do us the biggest favor, hit that like and subscribe button. That also helps us get moving throughout the algorithm as well. So there's that. And then it brings us to Steve Sarkisian. Steve Sarkisian here is, I find this interesting because Steve Sarkisian says people reporting or insinuating that there's a possibility I could leave the University of Texas. That's absolutely false and untrue. I'm not going anywhere. Well, I guess when it comes to that statement, I'm going to find it hard pressed if you don't get absolutely boat raced by if you get absolutely boat raced. I hate to be that guy, but if you get boat raced by A&M, I don't know what the Texas Boosters will do. I really don't. I think that they could possibly make an emotional decision. That's why I threw it out there the other day on the Kiffin stuff, because that would be the most, I keep on saying it, that would be the most Lane Kiffin thing ever, to be all primed up, ready to go to Florida, getting ready to get on the plane to fly to Gainesville, and the bat phone rings and it's Jimmy Sexton saying, "Hey Lane, Jimmy, how would you like to be the head football coach at the University of Texas?" Some people don't think that moves the needle. I think that majorly moves the needle. So I look at that and I think to myself, there is a lot of moving parts with this coaching carousel. I don't think I've ever seen anything on the coaching carousel move this much. Um, I think that's I think it's fascinating to say the least. Um, I I don't know where the bottom is going to fall out, because it's going to fall out somewhere in one of these member institutions like Auburn. Uh, it's just the shirt, I'm telling you. But somebody like Auburn, they don't want to get left out there in the cold with nobody to hire. You have Auburn, you have LSU still open. It's it's very fascinating to me on how this is shaking out. And then also, it does not do you any favors whatsoever um that you have somebody at Indiana like Kirk Cignetti uh, just doing what he's doing. And I also think it's fascinating at the college football playoff, not to really jump around too much, that BYU and Utah are, one's the first team in, the other one's the first team out. So we'll see where that shakes out. I think that it's very, very telling. Grit College Football posted a graphic that I seen today. Where are they now? Texas started out at number 1. Penn State was 2. Ohio State moves up 2 spots. Clemson out of the top 25. Penn State out of the top 25. I think Penn State kind of knew when they fired James Franklin it was going to completely fall apart. And for all intents and purposes, it did. Notre Dame was 6th. They're 9th. Not a big slide. Oregon's pretty much right where they're at. Alabama moved back 2 spots. LSU's fallen completely out. And Miami's only moved 3 spots from where they were at the beginning of the year. So I think that's I think there's some accuracy there, but it's not an indirect science with preseason polls. So that's that. Also, I'm getting some texts about why my neck looks funny. I have a green undershirt on. Just so the folks know. So I'm just looking at some other things that are going on in the college football world. But yeah, I think the Sark, I'm not going anywhere. Some people will take that to the bank as gospel. Other people will completely just be like, have no opinion on it. Me personally, I'm just like, whatever. That's what you say right now. It is November 19th at 8:31 p.m. That Steve Sark, I read that. In 2 weeks, we could say breaking news: Steve Sarkisian to the Tennessee Titans. Would anybody be shocked? I wouldn't be. For everything that's gone on in this coaching carousel, I'm not shocked whatsoever whenever something like that pops open. Also, the people in the media also just absolutely dragging Shedeur Sanders. That's kind of what it is. So there's that. Also, phone lines open. If you want to call, give us a call. 260-255-4069. It's open forum. You want to call and talk about the Hoosiers? You want to call and talk about why Penn State made the right decision? I'm all ears. We'll leave it open for a little bit longer. So there is that. Also, Shedeur Sanders got robbed also. So there's that. So yeah, phone lines open. The floor is completely yours. A lot of people pushing back on the Missouri stuff right now. Here's Missouri's resume. Missouri, number 22, best win, 5-5 Kansas, and that was at home. They got destroyed by Texas A&M by 21. Currently 0-3 versus ranked teams. Went to overtime with 4-6 Auburn. CFB alerts also talks about this. Obviously, they're only there to prop up resumes of the SEC. This CFP continues with them as a ranked win. Yikes. Also seeing some revisionist history. Raiders fans with tank for Shedeur signs. Don't necessarily think that they kind of want that. But although that is funny, Darnell Washington comes out. I might keep it a buck. I'm 311 pounds. That is a massive human being. Also, senior night for Kent State as well. Go Flashes. I know my boy Richie will be thrilled about that. Also seeing some other stuff. And then we're going to get to the last topic that I have a major issue with. Highest winning percentage in the Big 12. BYU leads the way. They over since 2024, so it'd be the last two seasons. They're 20-3. Texas Tech 18-6. Arizona State 18-6. Iowa 17-7. I would have kind of thought Keilani Sitake, which I know he loves BYU. I would have thought maybe he would have popped up in some coaching searches. I would have looked at him as a candidate. You can't say if someone made the right decision until you see how it works out. That's a good assessment, Dave. I just know if you look at, I'm assuming you're talking about the Lane Kiffin stuff or the James Franklin deal. Also, some of John Summerall's one of his comments today, Tulane head coach John Summerall by John, don't know where John works, Slokloff or whatever his name is. I probably butchered it. I'm bad with names and I don't have my glasses on. So we're an average team. I watched this practice today. We're average. If we're a top 25 team, there must be a lot of bad football going on. John Summerall, ladies and gentlemen. So, that's very, very fascinating. Oh, they're trolling Notre Dame. They are dragging Notre Dame right now. They have wins against 2-8 Arkansas, 2-9 Purdue, 3-7 Syracuse, 1-10 Boston College, and 3-7 Stanford are some of the notable wins by Notre Dame. So we'll see if they get a chip in a chair. Be interesting. And then Nicole Arbach posted this. College football chair Hunter Yurachek says that Notre Dame and Miami have not been compared to each other because they are not close enough to each other in the rankings. Mentioned Miami has 2 losses versus unranked teams. Notre Dame has 2 losses versus ranked teams. Okay. If that's what you want to call it, whatever. I can't I can't do it. I can't do it. Also, phone lines open. Number to call 260-255-4069 is the number to call. We'll see what. Yeah, that's very, very fascinating stuff as I'm looking at it. Just looking, the security guard getting down at the Ole Miss basketball game that Lane Kiffin famously reposted. Before we get rolling here, number to call 260-255-4069. Dan Hurley ain't going to be happy about that one. So that's kind of where we're at. I guess we'll get to the last topic. I guess we'll blow through what the ESPN.com's got going on. Already covered the Sark stuff. Franklin on Virginia Tech must act like a big time program. I don't disagree with James on that, because ever since they lost Frank Beamer, they just kind of didn't. It's not a total indictment of the coaches that came before, but it was two different eras, when Beamer had it rolling, but also now at this point, you have got to keep it going. And I think James Franklin's going to have a ton of momentum. It's going to be very hard for whoever comes into Penn State to retain that roster, because James Franklin's going to have intimate. See, this is what I think some of the coaches that move jobs, especially in college football, whether they go. I'm not going to say the ACC is the same level of football as the Big Ten, and facilities wise, there's a bunch of factors that go into it. But also, I think James Franklin will sell a lot of the kids, because I guarantee you they're still talking to him. And don't be shocked if Penn State loses a ton of kids out of their roster, because this is also the other thing that comes into it. Some kids sign up to play for certain coaches, and when that coach isn't there, yeah, you could run into issues, like I'm trying to think of a good situation. Like if you signed up to play for Hugh Freeze, and you are lock, stock, and barrel for Hugh Freeze in Auburn, and Hugh Freeze isn't there, you go somewhere else. That's kind of what it is. I think that, some kids signed up to play for James Franklin at Penn State, and if James Franklin isn't there, they're either going to follow him or they're going to reopen their recruiting. So there's that going into it. Also, moving on, Dylan Rayola's brother decommitted from Nebraska. His recruiting's 100% open again. This is with the Rayola folks. I don't know what's going on. Dylan was the same way. He was committed to 3 schools and ended up going to Nebraska. He was committed to Ohio State, Georgia for the longest times, and then he ended up leaving. So I guess we'll see. We'll see where his brother lands up on signing day. I'm not making a character assassination on the kid, but it's his right. This is the new age of college football. Some people like it, some people don't. I just want to know where you sign. Just whenever you sign somewhere, good for you. And then the College Football Commission is going to oversee NIL. They're going to, I guess, try to bolster some of the power. They sent a 10-page document over to memberships. I don't know how they're going to put this toothpaste back in the tube when it comes to NIL and the pay for play stuff. It just, to me, I guess one of the quotes is schools, in quotation marks, don't want to live in a world where rules are made by individual states, lawsuits, blah, 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 blah. Basically, they're trying to level the playing field because in a lot of the southern states like Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, NIL is not taxable. So at least by state tax. So I guess in that sense, you could save a couple $100,000 by choosing a different school, whatever. I don't know exactly what their in-game goal is going to be. It's going to be very fascinating to say the least. So there's that. They're supposed to be equaling out the NIL, which I don't think there's any way to equal it out now. And then, of course, Deion Sanders in the on the front page, it says Deion Sanders says Colorado has the right man despite the 3-7 season. Blah 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 blah. Adam Rittenberg wrote this. One of Sanders' quotes is, "You've got the right man," Sanders told reporters. "I promise you, you do. And I'm going to prove that to you. Just give me an opportunity and a little bit more time, and we're going to prove that to you." So, okay. Deion Sanders is 58 with a 16-19 overall record at Colorado, 19-6 in conference games. In March, he finalized a $54 million contract extension that runs through 2029. He admitted Tuesday that the coaching staff did some things we shouldn't have done with parts of the roster this season. He says he wants the chance to fix that situation. "This is what I do." He said, "This is who I am." Okay. Well, all right, Deion. I guess we'll take your word for it, but I don't know. You have a big contract. I don't think Colorado wants to pay a coach not to coach. That's just my opinion, but whatever. And then Lane Kiffin, I guess, went on McAfee the other day. This will be the last thing from the .com. Lane Kiffin went on McAfee the other day and basically said the Ole Miss giving him an ultimatum was not true. Do I 100% believe that? No. I'm very skeptical of everything that's coming out on the not Penn State, but the Lane Kiffin stuff. I would just like to see more. If he would just make an announcement, I get it. The family and all that stuff went over and they did the visits to the various universities, whatever. That's their right. They can do that. I'm not saying they can and can't, but he kind of can't do that right now. But we'll see how it shakes out. But the last topic that I have a major issue with is from CFB Alerts. Somebody tweeted this. That guy's name's there. "Nothing says college athletics like naming your football season or football stadium after a casino, and while actively voting against student athletes to bet on sports." Arizona is going to name it the Casino de Sol Stadium for $60 million. Arizona's taken from that. That's fine. Arizona has the right to take the money, but at the end of the day, the gambling thing, it was just like alcohol sales back in the day with college football. Like at Notre Dame Stadium, they never sold alcohol. They didn't sell alcohol at Vaught Hemingway until they realized that some of the stadiums that said, "Screw it, we're selling beer," and look at all the revenue they made off of it. Yeah, I don't think people realize, and there'll be people that'll be outraged by that, but I don't think people realize that this whole college athletics thing is really now athletic departments are basically small business, actually very big business, but I don't think people want to realize that. They kind of look at it as we don't have a dog in the fight, blah 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 blah, whatever. But at the end of the day, that's just where college athletics is at. They're going to continue to take the gambling money while they demonize it for the players. That's just like the NFL is taking all this FanDuel, DraftKings, Caesars. They're taking all that gambling money and shaky things with the officials. I'm just not going to dive into that rabbit hole. The officiating across all of total football is not very good. It's even bad at the high school level. I get it. Those guys are volunteers, but it's just tough. And that's the way I look at it. But the NFL officiating, not so good. College football officiating is even worse. The NFL takes the good guys from college. I hearken it back to two calls throughout the year. In the Auburn-Oklahoma game where the Auburn receiver got tackled. Auburn's basically has been on the wrong side of the officiating 2 years in a row. Or, well, two games, like two out of the last 3 games that had the major calls in it. The Georgia game and the Oklahoma game, one on the road and one at home. So we know how those two things ended, and they didn't get it, so that's what it is. But you got to go with what the official called, and I'm just saying the officiating is kind of just not good. At the moment, we got Kent State taking on Central Michigan. They are at the flashes. I think, Miami of Ohio, I think, is playing Buffalo tonight as well. So let me look. Get this punched up. So yeah, Miami of Ohio is up 17-10 on Buffalo, and then Central Michigan just punted, and they are up 14-3 on Kent State, which realistically Kent State has came a long way, in my opinion, from where they were last year to what they are this year. Thursday night, there's only one Thursday night game. Richie will be back tomorrow. And it's Louisiana Lafayette versus Arkansas State. And then we got 2 games on Friday night, Florida State, NC State, Hawaii, UNLV. Be interested to see if Mullen can keep the train rolling. I still think Mullen is a real candidate in the Penn State stuff. I don't think Penn State would be meeting with Urban Meyer for no good reason. I don't think they offered him the job. I think he went there to sell Dan Mullen because that would be a huge pay increase for his son-in-law, Corey Dennis. So that's kind of where we're at. Quick show tonight. Probably roll at 7:30 tomorrow with Richie being back. Have a full slate of stuff. We will turn our eyes to the weekend that is. It is Cupcake Weekend in the SEC outside of Florida, Tennessee. Man, where time has gone and where that game has gone. So there is that. Don't really have any real parting things, but I guess we'll see how many more gambling companies offer these universities money for stadium naming rights, but won't let the players bet on NFL football. I don't know. I think the gambling thing is a big deal, so we'll see where it shakes out. But with that being said, if you made it this far along into the program, if you like this content, hit that like and subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications, and we will see you tomorrow. Have a good night, everyone.